Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. Checking the participants list, I see people who have heard this one before. So probably you can make a comparison in terms of what I have decided to remove from this presentation. Once again, I truly appreciate your presence here. I was kind of relaxed a while ago until I heard my neighbor adjusting their speakers because video okay. But let's look at the responses that you have sent here in the chat box. Thank you. We have received a total of 54 responses. If you haven't sent yours, kindly do so. But for us to be able to answer this question, we need to do another simple task. And that simple task is this. We need to identify if this statement is true or false. Now, when we look at the majority answer sent in the chat box, I think you can easily say that this one is true. And because this one is true, it means that everything here will actually affect the learning process. They say that in terms of learning, different neural pathways found all over our body will influence how we perceive content. And with neural plasticity, it is stating that depending on your experience, you will be able to influence how your brain will process things. It is said that if we will actually spend time giving our students experiences that will naturally call for the use of their senses and their bodies, they will be able to learn better. And so I wonder, why is it that when I was starting to teach, I want my students to just stay put? Stay put, be quiet, listen. When in fact, there is a need for us to engage multiple senses that they have so that they can learn better. For those who are with background in biology or in science, you're familiar with this neuron. If I ask you this question, how are the neurons linked to each other? Would you say that they are tightly packed or are they loosely connected? Actually, they are loosely connected. And that loose connection is a reason why your neurons will offer a degree of flexibility. And that flexibility will allow a person to learn something that probably he does not know before. And in a way, that fact supports the concept of growth mindset. I remember last school year, Xavier is one of those schools that started teaching online ahead of time. Like we started at the end of July, when most started around last week of August. And then I was asked to create a class simulation that we will be presenting to the parents so they will have an idea how we are going to do the online teaching. So I did not experience online teaching before this one. What gave me confidence was the ADL learning module that we attended. I think several of us who are here attended this module. And so with Miss Perez, she's also here in the room. We with lack of information in terms of how we can do things well and just banking on the ADL training, we did say yes to the class simulation. And this is what we have. And you can see how disconnected our students, but we try to engage them. But the thing here is, I am not that same teacher anymore. I am worse, kidding. No, of course, with experience, hopefully I am better. And I believe most of you here are doing something better than when you started with this online journey. When we teach, do we ask ourselves how exactly my students will learn? Because I think that for us to be able to influence the learning of our students, we must have a certain degree of knowledge regarding how exactly our brains work in terms of learning. In this session, we are going to do three things. So first, we'll try to answer the question, how do we incorporate these principles in class? So I'm going to give you some learning principles that you might have encountered before. So later, feel free to say something. If I am misinterpreting something, say it and send it in the chat box so that together we can learn. We will try to answer also in what ways can we be more intentional in terms of observing these learning principles. And finally, we ask as ourselves in what ways can we broaden our knowledge in terms of these different learning principles. I hope that seeing those, you will be able to create a space for something to catch. Because I bet with what you will be sharing in the chat box and what you will be hearing from me and from those people who will be unmuting, you will be able to get a knowledge, wisdom. So allow me to continue. When we started with the online teaching, I was asking myself, what exactly can I bring to an online class? Because I'm thinking if I should say how many years I've been teaching. Guess, kidding. So for many years, I've been doing things not through this one. And so I started asking, and I found wisdom through this one, asking myself, what can I bring to the class that would spark joy? So I'm thinking we should focus on something essential so that what must be there will be there. What must be learned will be learned. And then they can just grow onto the foundation. So even though the setup changed, I feel, and this is more of an opinion, the learning principles that we have learned before continue to reverberate. And so for this session, we will do three things. So I said we will answer three questions, but in the way we will answer those questions, we will follow this format. We'll identify a particular learning principle, then we will describe how we can use it, and then probably we can give some tools or apps that promote these principles. So let's start with this one. A while ago, I did not ask you to answer the first one, but this time I hope you will try to participate so that we can all be awake because it's almost 5 o'clock. So I have here a statement. The brain or mind is social. Is this true or is this false? May I ask you to send your answer in the chat box? Thank you. I'll try to multitask as I hear my neighbor sing his favorite song. Most of you are saying true. So far, based on the first task and then this one, it kind of makes me feel like, yeah, I'm speaking to a group of people that are very aware in terms of how learning happens. And so I feel nervous now. So the fact is, the way we learn things is actually one of the ways that we learn things is by how we interact with other people. There is this notion of social construction of knowledge, that what you learn will be something that can grow if you can compare it with other people, if you are able to connect with them, verify what you have learned, and eventually grow upon what you will be hearing from others. And so they're saying, who are they? Research would say that students will learn better when their needs for social interactions and relationships are engaged and honored. But how do you do that in this setup? We tried to establish connection among them by using the following things. So we have Google Slide, Google Doc, and I know some of you are better than how I use these things. So probably later you can share something in the chat box. Yeah, feel free to share things that might promote how we can use the principles using the chat box. So An example of the things that we do is that by sharing, for example, Google Slides, we ask a group to work together in creating an output. And in a way, they are able to discuss what must be placed there. So you provide the structure for them to communicate with one another. Now, if you want it to be more organized, you can divide the tasks, assign a particular question to one person because we don't want someone who will be a freeloader. And then by looking at the responses of everybody, they will have a better picture of the content that you're offering. You can use Padlet. Well, I'm using Linuit. I've been using it for a decade because it's still free. So I'm still using this one. And you can see how some students are able to dive deeper in terms of expressing what they know about content, about the problem, about the question. When you ask them to comment upon a content that you share, do you just ask them to just answer the question? Why not invite them to comment to the answers provided by their peers? Like, do they agree with what this classmate of theirs said or shared? So in a way, they can create an opportunity to be heard and to also get some affirmation if somebody agrees with them. And if there's a need for correction, it can also come from the peers. Let's move on to the next one. So the next one is this: different experiences, same memory making process. Is this one true or is this one false? False, according to Miss Teresa. I hope I'm not murdering anyone's name. Miss Bernardino says false. Miss Barcelon also says false. Several people are sending the word false. Would you kill me if I call you and ask you why you have sent the word false? Will it be okay? I can hear people saying, just move on, just move on. We need to end at 5. But thank you for sending your responses. Some are saying true, some are saying false. I bet depending on what you will be using to justify your answer will be true. But for this one, allow me to state a fact that there are at least 2 approaches to memory. So what will be the implication of this fact? They're saying that one way that we learn something is through a dynamic memory path. What does it mean? It means that's the reason why you remember the food that was cooked by your friend that did not taste good. It is the reason also why you still remember a teacher that scolded you for not accomplishing a task that you did when you were in grade school and you're still holding grudge about it. In the dynamic memory path, we are able to provide our learners multiple ways on how they will have access to the experience. And therefore, by accessing that experience in different ways, they are able to access the information that they need. And so when we present our content, we are challenged to think of ways on how we can tap into different pathways of learning. Allow me to read a message sent in the chat box. Sir, I remember that the amygdala and hippocampus are different memory banks. Yes. And in the brain and memories are classified differently. I think Miss Teresa is a bio teacher because I don't know these things. I'm kidding. I even put in my name bio teacher. So yeah, Miss Teresa, I agree. So what are the things that we can use and what we tried using? I'm just not sure if we were successful. So we have these apps. So for example, for optics, using the camera of their gadget, because in Xavier School, in high school, we are allowing our students to use their iPad as their main educational tool. So that has camera. So before we asked students to take pictures of themselves, of things, and then they have to explain how light behave in those pictures. And then they have to come up with an explanation about it. So uh, explaining reflection. We even show this one. Let's make time for this one. I need you to send LR if this one is moving based on what you're seeing left to right. And then send RL if you are seeing it moving from right to left, or just send RRL. So if you send R, we know that it starts from right. If you send L, we know that it's starting from left. Miss Joyce, thank you for sending. So take a good look at the responses of our peers here. So some are saying it's moving from right to left, but there are people saying that it's moving from left to right. For me, what I'm saying is that the cat is actually somersaulting. Kidding, it's not. When I close my eyes and imagine that it's moving from left to right, it does. Right now, it's not. Wait, I need to focus more. Okay, it's moving now left to right. But then it's now moving right to left. Why use this one? We actually use this one to tell students that you can't just rely on your senses, that you need some tools to make sure that what you are getting will be factual. And there's also the need to verify what others are able to see. As what we can see here, we can assume that it's just moving according to what we are able to see, and it might be different from another person, from another perspective. Another thing that we do is, so for example, for this one, if you have subscription, or even if you don't have subscription for Spotify, you can, sorry, I'm not sure, but what you can do is to get the songs that the students want, and then use this as a way to introduce a lesson on music, actually for science, vibration, sound. What are the different sounds are you able to hear in this song? And of course, you can imagine who that person is based on the choice of song. Is that bad? Is that judge? Is it being judgmental? Describing a person based on his preference in music. But the thing here is you are able to invite them to participate in this. And when you play something, they will be more interested listening to it. And then you can just segue into the content that you need to deliver. Oh, there, somebody's doing that also. Miss Ligia is also doing that. Now let's move on. So let's have the third principle. Everyone seeks meaning. Yes or no? True, true. So far, we have a yes here and true. I got a feeling that everybody will be sending true. It is actually said by different researchers that the search for meaning is innate in different individuals. But why is it that some of our students seem not interested in finding the meaning in terms of what we are giving them? Because it's natural for them to ask, why am I here? But sometimes they can't find the answer to that question. And therefore, we teachers, we need to find ways on how they can connect to the content that we are offering to them in a way that they will see the meaning. Because if they can see the meaning in what they're doing, they will have more energy to engage with it, even if it might be challenging. So that's what this one is trying to present to us. So some of the things we use are the following. So you can use the calculator in their gadget. They can download the app for Photoshop. And what we have done, some examples. So for example, for food, we always discuss, the way we present the lesson in nutrition is that they have to make a plan for someone. So why not invite them to pick a group of people that actually going to benefit from what they know about this one and highlight that there is actually power in food choice. They might feel empowering. They might feel that this is an empowering performance task. And they might treat it with more expertise, I guess. Sorry, my thought flew there. Another task that we give our students that of just asking them to do the IP. I don't know why sometimes students feel that the IP is a burden that we give them. And so when we decided to tweak the way we present it to them, instead of asking them to do the investigatory project, we asked them, we need you to look for myths in science that we need to bust. So in a way, they can engage in a different way with this content. We even asked them to design a circuitry for their rooms, depending on how much light they want to use or what different light fixtures they will be using. We even ask them to propose a floor plan in terms of how we can improve on the lab that they're using, because sometimes they will complain like, why is this area like this? It could be this way. So why not ask them to be the one to propose a plan for it? And what lesson is this? Well, for us, it's measurement, because we have to provide them what is the current measurement of things inside the lab, and then they need to provide now a proposal based on that. So it's a way to present the concept of measurement. Sorry, I'm just going to read this one, Ms. Tomol. I've noticed that these are tech reliant. How can we provide the same learning experiences for students who have challenge with tech access? The reason why I highlighted apps for this session, it is because I'm thinking that we are in a setup wherein we are presenting things online. That's why I'm highlighting what text or what app we can explore. But if we will have correspondence, I can suggest some, Ms. Tomol, ones that will not really require the too much tech stuff. Ms. Tomol, I hope I'm able to address this one. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to the fourth one. So this one's saying emotional connection is as important as content connection. Is this true or is this false? As you send your responses here, allow me to just read a comment from Ms. Perez. As an alternative to apps, I sometimes present my lesson incorporating my experience for students who have challenges with tech access. I'm sorry. Present my lesson incorporating my students' context or relevant. Thank you, Ms. Perez, for mentioning this one. We should know where our students are in terms of how we plan our learning activities. We always look into where they are and we try our best to meet them there so that we can bring them to where they should be. So thank you. Everyone is saying this one is true. Exactly. So why is it our lesson is devoid of any emotional connection? You can see I'm trying my best here. Emotions are critical to learning. They color meaning. And when the emotions that you will use in your class is able to do that, it will allow them to remember the content better. And so why do we present our content like it's just something that they should read? There's no emotional connection. There's no meaning. And yet we want them to learn. I'm saying this because I'm also guilty. I need to keep on reminding myself because if I have not shared, I'm teaching IB and IB has a required content that we have to cover. And there are times when the session just dwells into, let's learn what you should learn in terms of this content. But maybe this is also a challenge for me, that I will try to provide opportunities for them to have emotional connection with the content, or at least try to bring out their emotions during a session. So we can use animated explanation in YouTube. You can, when I was making this one, I was thinking, is this gaslighting? But I know you know what I mean when I say that we can use these things in terms of having an emotional connection to a content or guiding our students in terms of using emotional content. One of my favorite videos is this. And you might have watched this several times, used it several times, but I want to present this in a way that I ask my students, how is life represented here after we teach the concept of traits of life? For other living things, if they are made of cells, they're alive. But is it the same when we ask that we are living? Is it the same with that person just surviving? So I use this one. And as of now, I'm thinking, did I use it correctly? Let's move on to number 5. Let me just address what Miss Gia said. I like how you are marrying the content with personal development. Oh, thank you, Miss Gia. How about this one? Learning is both conscious and unconscious. Miss Barcelona done. Miss Teresa. Oh, several people are done. Sorry, I might not be able to read your name, but I know people will be able to see your response here. And Ryan. Ryan is one of the people guiding the presenters. He was actually my student when he was in grade 9. And that's why he's like that. I'm kidding, Ryan. Ryan, can we save this so I can read the responses later? So yes, learning is both conscious and unconscious. Sometimes we just have to tell our students, focus here. But one of the things that we forget is that there is a term that describes the need for time, and that's unconscious incubation. I am guilty of giving a quiz the next day after we wrap up things related to a lesson. But that's not how it should be, because it is said that we need to give our students enough time to reflect on and process the experiences that we provided them. And so probably between a major assessment, we can give formative assessments in the form of a blog, a science movie review, a vlog, or an exit ticket for your task that will allow them to ponder upon things. And finally, oh yes, I'm still on time, am I? Last one, threats and challenges have the same effect on learning. Do they have the same effect? What do you think? Before, I think, okay, so several people are already sending false. Exactly. Learning is enhanced by challenge and inhibited by threat. Learning is enhanced by challenge and inhibited by threat. I was going to read it for emphasis, but I messed up. There is this need for relaxed alertness in our classes, which would allow them to stay alert and challenged to finish a difficult task. They will see it as something that they need to go through, because eventually what they see in the future matters. But if we don't have the right scaffolds that will allow them to see that this is something that will benefit them at the start or in the middle, they will give up, because they will just see that, why is this so difficult? Why am I doing this? So they're saying that there is a need for us to build the confidence of our learnings. And that's why at the start of this lesson, I ask you to just send what do you think will be the parts that can help you learn. Because depending on your context, what you will be sending will be true and that you can justify that. So in a way, it allows us to feel that, yeah, I think we can do this. So there's that the building up confidence. And then there's the need to build respect. Sometimes we think respect is something that we should get because, well, we are teachers. We studied for this. I deserve to be respected. But something that I've learned is this, that when you are readily giving them the respect that they deserve, they will just give that respect that you deserve as well. Give first before you ask. That's what they say. And then finally, build that rapport. Students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I'll end with this one. Oh, respect is earned, not required. Yes, Miss Teresa. Thank you for sharing that one also. So these are the learning principles that I presented. I hope you're able to get one or two things that you will be able to use. It might be something that I said that you don't agree, that is still useful. So I'll end here. Ryan, I'm giving you the virtual floor. Sorry, I used all the time to present my content. There's supposed to be a 10-minute question and answer. Ryan.
Well, thank you very much to Sir Joel. And I guess if ever, pwede rin naman, we could end at 5 p.m. for the Q&A. So the floor is now open for questions. You could either send it over in the chat box or unmute.
I was avoiding being asked. That's why I used the entire period, Ryan. I'm kidding. So let me just read some questions. I realized a lot from your presentations. I thank you very much, Miss Barcelona. Thank, thank you, sir. Can I ask a copy? I can. Yes, I will be sending the file to Mr. Ryan, and I think since this one is recorded, you will also have access to this one. Thank you very much, sirs, and thank you for sharing your insights as well. Actually, isn't it that way that when we feel that we are supporting each other, we are able to gain more energy? And so I owe my energy this afternoon to you for being very participative. And you were able to block the sound of the video, okay, of my neighbor. But I might join him later. If you can't beat them, join them, sabi nga. Yes, my style is working. You are distracted. You can't ask questions.
It seems that they do not have questions, or they're probably just thinking of questions.
Thank you, teachers. Thank you very much.
Okay, once again, thank you very much to Sir Joel, and thank you also to our participants for attending this session.